Thank you for joining us for the Advancing Oceanside podcast, brought to you by the Oceanside Chamber of Commerce. The Advancing Oceanside podcast hosts business and community leaders from all industries to help inform, better educate, and ultimately advocate for a prosperous economic climate here in Oceanside. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Advancing Oceanside podcast. Today, we are exploring another amazing service provider in our community. Greg Angel, CEO for Interfaith Community Services, joins us to discuss how the organization is helping people help themselves. Interfaith Community Services empowers people in need to stabilize their lives through comprehensive programs and partnerships with diverse faith communities and people of passion. With 5 main areas of focus: supportive services, housing, clinical and behavioral health, recovery and wellness, and employment and economic development, Interfaith has helped thousands of individuals just here in North County alone. And not only does Interfaith help those in need, but their FaithBased Mental Health Academy provides training for faith leaders and mental health professionals in order to help them better serve those struggling with their mental health. Just to disclose any information beforehand, this interview does briefly discuss mental health and depression. But for anyone out there struggling, Interfaith's doors and phone lines are always open, and they're here to help. Now, let's get into our chat with Greg. Welcome, Greg. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me, Hannah. I've been looking forward to this. Excited to be here.
Yes, absolutely. We are looking forward to this as well. You're going to hit on a lot of great stuff for Mental Health Awareness Month, which is May, and then also just a lot of the work that you do in the community, faith-based, homeless, all that fun stuff. So I'm excited to learn about what you guys are doing. And you're a new member with the Oceanside Chamber, so we're happy to have you there as well.
We're happy to be a member.
Yeah. Well, let's just jump into it. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and your career with Interfaith Community Services?
Yeah, so I'm 40 years old. I've been working with Interfaith for 15 years now. Kind of hard to believe. My background: I was raised by my dad was a healthcare executive, and my mom was a Methodist minister. So I don't know, maybe I was kind of raised to try to help people and do good in this world and to try to solve problems. And that's kind of the take that I bring to our work. And it's certainly what Interfaith Community Services does. Just here in North County, we do a little work outside of North County, but 95% of what we do is right here. We're not a part of a national organization or anything. We're just local. And we started in North County more than 42 years ago. And we merged with a group in Oceanside back in 2005, the North Coastal Resource Center. And we've had different programs and services here in Oceanside ever since, for more than 15 years now.
Yeah, that's great. And I love that your parents kind of instilled all these beliefs into you, and now you're able to carry that into your work today. I think that's awesome, and probably helps you in your day-to-day activities too.
Definitely, yeah. And I have good evidence because my sister works at North County Lifeline. She's one of the leaders there doing similar human services work here in North County. So the apples, I don't think, fell too far from the tree.
Yeah, exactly. So Interfaith focuses on helping people help themselves. Can you give us a little bit of background on that, on your organization, your mission, values, and then how faith is at the forefront of your company's values?
Yeah, the idea is that we are here to help people in their time of need. And if we can help people to be able to help themselves, teach a person to fish, something people often think about, then they'll be better suited longer term. And so we offer a real wide array of services, everything from food and shelter to employment services and mental health counseling, and really wrap around what we would call case management to help support people in identifying what their goals are, to be as self-reliant as possible and to be as self-sufficient as possible. So that's really how we bring about our work at Interfaith. We have more than 75 different programs and services operated in Oceanside and throughout North County. So the tie that connects all of those is that we're seeking to help people to help themselves in the best way possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And after visiting your website, it's evident that you guys have so many different services, so many different programs that you offer for everyone. So what type of individuals do you primarily support in your organization?
So last year we worked with more than 20,000 unique individuals in North County. More than 8,000, by the way, had never reached out to Interfaith for help before. This is absolutely a result of economic challenges amid COVID and people needing help who hadn't needed help previously. Um, we serve every age range. So when you look at demographics, it's really a pretty even breakdown. Individuals struggling with poverty and struggling to overcome poverty is the most common through line of the men, women, and children, and seniors and veterans who we're serving. And you had asked earlier about the role of faith in who we are. We're a membership organization, which is kind of unique. So our members are different faith communities. Um, the vice chair of our board is Reverend Kadri Webb of St. John's Church here in Oceanside. And so his church is a member of our organization, and those members actually elect our governing board of directors. And thinking about who we serve, our members also send people who need help to us. So we are often the kind of the social services arms and feet of more than 100 different congregations throughout North County.
Wow, that's great. And going on with that, what kind of programs and services do you offer? I know you talked about mental health, employment opportunities. Can you just discuss some of those programs?
Yeah, so we offer basic needs and what we call supportive services at a number of locations, including our Libby Lake Resource Center here in Oceanside, and just down the road, our Carlsbad Service Center, close to Palomar Airport. Both of those locations have walk-in hours every day for somebody to come in, and they may not know what they need. They just are seeking they have a problem. Either they're out of work and they're afraid they won't be able to pay their rent, or they don't have food to put on the table for their kids, or they're working a couple jobs, neither of which are providing benefits, and they're having a tough time making ends meet. Or, heaven forbid, they're on the streets and they don't have a home, and they're homeless. So through those walk-in services, we will meet with anybody, regardless of their situation, and we'll find out what their challenges are, what their strengths are, and we'll help them develop a plan to get back on their feet. And so through that, we will help with food, with monetary assistance to help people get caught up on rent. There's a lot of that happening now amid COVID. We'll help with job training, with creating a resume, with finding employment. We can help with housing searches. We can help with move-in costs for somebody moving into a new home of their own, offer mental health support. Addiction treatment is a big one that we do for a variety of people in different situations. And then a lot of types of housing programs. So everything from short-term shelter to transitional housing to even long-term affordable housing. So a real wide array of programs and services.
Yeah, that's great. Your work is amazing, and I love that you hit on that you'll accept anyone. There's a lot of programs out there to help specifically homeless people, but to help people who are about to be on the streets or about to be there, that they can come to you and know that they can still get assistance is a really great opportunity. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we rely upon volunteers to do a lot of that work. So, anyone listening to the podcast who is interested in getting involved, we are always looking for volunteers to help be those frontline intake specialists in our Oceanside, Carlsbad, and other locations. And then thinking about who we serve, in addition to at those locations, we also operate the Oceanside Homeless Outreach Team in partnership with the city of Oceanside and the police department. And so in that capacity, we actually worked with 601 unduplicated individuals who were unsheltered on our Oceanside streets just in 2020 alone. 601 people. That's a huge amount. And I think many of us are paying even more attention. I know I'm certainly hearing a lot more around homelessness lately. And so we can talk more about that, but it's a major role we have here in Oceanside is reaching out to people when they are on the streets and experiencing homelessness.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had no idea you guys actually worked with the Oceanside Hot Team. They came to the chamber and did a webinar with us. Well, not a webinar, a workshop back when there were workshops, and kind of discussed the roles that they do and the work that they do in Oceanside. And it's really remarkable work and working with people who live, unfortunately, on our streets and trying to get them rehabilitated. So I think that's fantastic that you guys have partnered with them. And I think that actually leads great into our next question, which is, what is the most important thing that can be done in reducing homelessness?
So it's a great question. What we really need are a couple things that we don't have right now in Oceanside. We need a shelter. there is no shelter that operates in the city of Oceanside. So last year we worked with 601 individuals, um, and we were able to place 122 of them into shelter. No, that's good for those 122.
Mhm.
But the rest of those individuals, one of the primary reasons they didn't get into shelter is it does not exist in the city of Oceanside. So we need to create a shelter. The city has put out a proposal and they're working to create that.
Mhm.
So we should see that gap be filled soon. But just to name it, we need a shelter. Then the second most important thing, and what's frankly the most important thing, but um, it's hard to access if you don't have a stable place to get to it, we need housing. The one thing that always ends homelessness, and it doesn't happen on its own, but the one
Mhm.
thing that has to be a part of any ending to homelessness is a home, right? And so we need affordable housing that has supportive services, commensurate supportive services to help people be successful in that housing when they have certain disabling conditions. So
Mhm.
it's important for the listeners of this podcast to understand that, because when those types of housing developments are proposed,
Mhm.
they often get opposed
Right.
by local community members who say, "Oh, we don't want, the air quote the homeless here."
Right. Right.
And you'll never hear me say the homeless. You'll hear me say people experiencing homelessness, because these are people at the heart of the matter,
Right. Right.
and we need to think about what the best ways are for them to be able to improve their situation. And if we're not providing access to affordable housing, we're really only going to be able to be so successful. So understanding the need for housing and supporting high quality housing. If anyone wants to see really high quality affordable housing, we would be happy to show them a number of properties we work at in and around North County that are, the nicest apartment buildings on their block, and they're helping a lot of people who you'd be surprised to know, were on the streets for many years.
Yeah, absolutely. And affordable housing is one of the objectives that we place very high importance here at the chamber, because we know that that is an issue, and a big reason why there are a lot of people experiencing homelessness, which I mean, it could be for mental health issues and such, which we'll talk about what you guys do in that area as well. But just what you were saying, the bottom line is getting people into homes and homes that they can afford. So that's great work in that aspect as well.
Well, and when you look at the age of people experiencing homelessness, so I mentioned, we worked with
Mhm.
601 people in 2020. So we have very specific demographics on the individuals we're working with, because
Mhm.
we're building relationships with them and we're trying to connect them to housing and help. So of those 601 people, only 10% were in their 20s age wise.
Okay.
In their 30s, we have 17%. Then about 20% in their 40s. So it's starting to get a little older. Once you
Mhm.
get into the 50s, we actually have 27% of our people experiencing homelessness in Oceanside. And then age 60 or older, 23%.
Wow.
So what that is we're talking 50% of our homeless population is over the age of 50.
Mhm.
And what that means is that people, once people get past 50, you're getting older. Health is a thing. Health problems become a bigger challenge, right? Well,
Right.
imagine if you're doing that while you're homeless, while you don't have a safe place to sleep at night. And so we see the health problems among our homeless community be really, really greater than our housed community, both
Right.
physical, medical health as well as behavioral health, mental health issues.
Right, absolutely. Did you see a lot of families in that mix as well, or was it pretty much just, single individuals?
There are far too many families, a lot of families experiencing homelessness. They're often not the people we see and
Mhm.
identify, we like the general public, as being as people experiencing homelessness, because they
Right.
may be living out of their car, or they may be getting their kids to school on a daily basis, and that
Yeah.
mom may be the barista serving your coffee at Starbucks. So a lot of our families without housing are often kind of our hidden homeless.
Okay.
So the numbers within that 601 is pretty small,
Mhm.
but there are many out there. That's another kind of challenge around homelessness, is nobody really knows how many people are actually experiencing homelessness, either in the city of Oceanside or in the county or anywhere else. It's a very difficult number to identify.
Yeah, absolutely. And you had just spoken about obviously behavioral and mental health. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I'd like to talk with you kind of about the work you do with clinical and behavioral health. What kind of programs do you offer for people who are struggling with their mental health and to help rehabilitate them?
Yeah, so building off the homelessness piece, so our social workers are all mental health professionals working alongside Oceanside Police Department as the homeless outreach team. So these are all individuals working towards their mental health clinical licensure. So they're all uh, specially trained and experienced to help people address mental health issues. When people end up homeless or they are without housing, their mental health almost always deteriorates.
Mhm.
And so, while it's true that mental health can cause homelessness, in our experience, it's actually much more common that homelessness causes mental health issues.
Interesting.
And so, we really bring the ability to provide one on one counseling, case management, through all of our outreach teams. And then what we do is we work to connect individuals to other programs and resources that are out there, but they can be really challenging to navigate to, especially if somebody has a diagnosed severe mental illness and they're not engaging in treatment or medication. Um, so we connect a lot of people to resources. We also offer special mental health resources for veterans. So we have a pretty significant veterans services team here in Oceanside. We're based out of the Veterans Association of North County building on Mission, just across from the high school. And we have a housing team there because we operate some transitional housing for veterans. And then we also have mental health services specifically for veterans. And again, we see a lot of veterans who have untreated mental health challenges that we can help initially connect with, initially assess, and then try to get support for. And really, I could kind of go on, but I don't want to belabor the point. Throughout all of our different programs and services, there are connections and elements of mental health because when you're struggling in poverty, your mental health is going to struggle as well. So it's really central to everything that we do.
Absolutely. And um, since you are working with the Oceanside Hot Team, one thing that I found really interesting when they had come to speak with us was that they were aware of the homeless individuals in our community, and also aware of their needs or aware of their situations, if they did have mental health issues. For you guys, if how do you connect with them? Do they have to come to you, or can the hot team tell you this is the individual, here are the signs they're displaying, and then you can help connect them with somebody who can help their mental illness?
Yeah, both. So they can come to us at any of our locations, but we are a part of the homeless outreach team. So when the officers are engaging individuals, our social workers are there with them.
Okay.
So we do that in partnership, and we will then do exactly what you described: connect them with mental health resources that can support them. The challenge, however, is that there aren't enough resources out there. And back to the earlier point, there is no available shelter. So if somebody says, "Yes, I want treatment, I want to do something," there often isn't a place for them to go. It's been controversial, but recently the city has launched a motel voucher pilot program,
Mhm.
and this, of course, came out of clearing of a couple of encampments. And while we at Interfaith don't see motel vouchers as a long term solution, we have seen a number of people be able to access longer term help as a result of the stabilization that even a motel voucher can provide.
Yeah.
So, just recently through that program, we're not running the motel voucher program, but again, through our homeless outreach team, we're working with lots of the people who are in those motels. So we've connected actually 4 individuals to long term permanent housing resources.
Mhm.
So some of those are in the form of rental subsidies to help them pay for the first month's rent, get moved into a place of their own.
Mhm.
Others are with an actual long term housing subsidy, which individuals with certain disabilities are going to need in order to be able to maintain that housing. Both come with ongoing case management and support. And then we also helped 2 individuals get into detox and long term recovery programs. So again, those things really only became possible when somebody had a stable, safe place to be. In this case, it wasn't the best of options. It was a motel hotel room, but it was better than a tent and certainly better than the streets. So it just goes back to that need for having a shelter, having some safe places for people to go, because it's hard to get into treatment. It's hard to address mental health
Yeah.
for any of us, let alone if you're, worrying about where your next meal is going to come from, or worrying for your own personal safety if you're on the streets.
Right, absolutely. I'm so glad that you hit on that aspect that, having a shelter and a roof over your head, a bed to lay in even can help someone's mental health so much, and encourage them to, kind of get off the street. I know that like you said, it was a very controversial action, but in so many different ways, not helps the community, but also more importantly, helps those individuals, which I love that you highlighted in that aspect.
And certainly also is a big part of our local business community. I mean, nobody wants to operate a business. Nobody wants to live in a community where we have a bunch of neighbors who are on the streets. And I mentioned, we have very detailed information on the people we're working with. Of those 601 people, a lot of people think, well, they're from out of state, or
Hmm.
they're from LA or San Diego. Um, the reality is, of those 601 individuals, one in 10, only 1 in 10 report being from outside of Oceanside as their last place of
Wow.
residence. So 90% are from Oceanside. And then only three were actually from outside of the state of California. And only three out of 600, only 4 out of 600 were from the city of San Diego. So, these are our neighbors, they're our residents. And I think we all agree, if we're going to be a healthy, vibrant community, we need to make sure that people aren't living and dying on our streets.
Yeah, absolutely. That was another thing the hot team discussed with us about how, if there's somebody new in town, they go and check them out. They ask where they're from. And usually, they're so used to seeing these individuals. The homeless are actually a part of the Oceanside community. So
Yeah.
I found that to be really fascinating. And when they came and presented those numbers to us as well, I didn't realize that these were actual people from Oceanside. I thought, they had come elsewhere. I'm sure a lot of people had the same opinion as I. So that's really great. And then as I was kind of researching what you guys do and the programs you offer, your faith-based mental health academy was extremely intriguing to me. Can you discuss this training and how it may help other faith and community-based organizations recognize mental health signs and within their community and get those individuals the help they need?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked about this and found this program, because it's a great resource addressing a problem that makes a lot of sense when you think about it, but a lot of people may not think about it until they experience it.
Hmm.
So, when somebody is in a mental health crisis, if they're a person of faith and they're a part of a faith community, they may very well turn to their faith leader for help. In reality, of course, that's often where they turn. They turn to their clergy, and if you're that clergy person, if you're that faith leader, you've probably gone to multiple levels of college and school to become a faith leader and to learn your faith. You probably haven't gone through a lot of behavioral health training.
Hmm.
You're almost certainly not a licensed behavioral health specialist, but yet you're the person who somebody is turning to when they're on the verge of suicide, or when they have a partner or a family member who they don't know how to help. And so, what our program does, what our faith based mental health academy does, is it destigmatizes mental health for faith communities.
Okay.
Um, we help faith communities understand mental health issues and treatment. And we connect those faith communities, clergy leaders, lay leaders, we connect those faith leaders to behavioral health providers, so that when the person in their church or their synagogue does reach out to them, they can then connect them to needed help. We also do the same thing with behavioral health providers, because if somebody's working with a counselor and they're a person of faith, well, their faith is going to be a part of their recovery and their treatment. It's a part of who they are intrinsically as a person. If that clinician, if that mental health professional doesn't understand what that means to them, they're missing a huge part, a huge piece of the equation. So we train behavioral health specialists on faith and how to bridge those connections. So we do trainings ongoing. We actually have a 2-week training in Spanish that's coming up next month, begins on June 17th. And then later this summer, early fall, we'll have an English training. So if anyone's interested, we can have information on your website, or they can check it out through interfaithservices.org. And it's a great opportunity for people to access some really important education and resources to, again, destigmatize mental health and bridge the connection between faith communities and behavioral health.
Yeah, absolutely. Please send me that information so that I can share it on our social platforms and on our website. And I love this academy just because I feel like it ties everything together and really gets to the root of the issue where people are coming to other people with mental health or behavioral health issues, and you find a solution for them. And I think that's what a lot of people need is a solution to help these individuals not fall so deep into where they are experiencing homelessness and other issues. So that's fantastic.
And to help faith leaders. I mentioned I'm a preacher's
Yeah.
kid. My mom was a Methodist minister. She used to tell me, I was trained to be a minister. I wasn't trained to be everyone's counselor, but everyone's coming to me, right? So, we're really here to support our faith leaders as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Earlier, you mentioned some ways, or that you needed volunteers. And what are some ways or some programs that people can get involved in?
Yeah, sure. So through Interfaith Community Services, we rely upon volunteers to serve as volunteer social workers at our service centers. So we have opportunities at our Libby Lake Resource Center here in Oceanside, as well as just down the road at our Carlsbad Service Center. All of those details are available at our website, interfaithservices.org. And then we also have good opportunities if people aren't ready to come and volunteer in person, or maybe they just don't have the time. They can actually put together donation kits, whether it's hygiene kits and employment kits for our veterans who we're providing housing to here in Oceanside, or it's making sack lunches that we provide at our different locations for people who have that immediate need, or just simply providing non-perishable food donations. We provide thousands and thousands of meals as kind of the first part of a longer engagement. So that's always an opportunity. And all those resources are also listed out on our website.
That's great. I love the all those ways that our community can get involved with you. And how can community members contact you? Are you guys on social media? I know you gave your website, but what are those social handles?
Yeah, for sure. So we're on every social media platform. Our handle is at Interfaith CS, as in community services. So Interfaith CS at Interfaith CS. We're on all the social media platforms there. Our website, interfaithservices.org, is a great way to connect. And I'd love to connect with anyone personally. So I'll give out my direct cell phone. Anyone can call, text me anytime you'd like, especially if you're a business owner and you're concerned about homelessness or any other issue and you want to understand or see how we might be able to help support you in addressing any concerns locally or getting involved in any of these solutions. You can reach me directly at 858-336-4526. That's my personal cell phone. 858-336-4526, or again, social media, website, all good ways to reach out.
Yeah, that's great. I would love for business owners to connect with you and maybe also learn some science that they can see within their own employees or neighbors, anyone else in the community. I love that you want those personal connections as well. Um, Through this interview, it's been extremely clear that you're passionate about helping individuals within the Oceanside community. I just have one last question, and that is, what does it mean to you to advance Oceanside?
It means to work together. It means to work together, especially to work together with people who you think may not agree with you, or you think may view the world differently, or you think may not like you. I don't know, whatever it is. We're way too divided, and we've spent the last year and a half, almost year and a half,
Mhm.
physically divided, right? Amid COVID. We need to understand the most difficult challenges facing Oceanside will not be solved by one individual, by one group. They won't be solved by one constituency, and certainly not one political party. Right? We need to do this all together, and we need to work in partnership. So. At Interfaith Community Services, we're like a partnership on steroids. We're all these different faith groups and volunteers and people of compassion and philanthropists and local governments. We work in 8 North County cities, all trying to bring those things and work together. So I would just say advancing Oceanside means working together, especially through our differences to reach common goals and to improve our community for all of our people.
Absolutely. I love that. And partnerships, collaborations are a huge thing at the chamber. So if you guys ever need anything from us, please feel free to reach out to me. And if I can't help you, I'll find somebody who can. But Greg, you have shared so much valuable information with us today on the things that you do. And I appreciate all the work that you've done with our community and are continuing to do. And if anybody wants to get in contact with him, he has a website, social media, reach out to him on his personal cell phone. He's there to help you. But thank you so much again, Greg, for joining us today. And I hope that we are in touch soon.
Absolutely. Thank you for the partnership, Hannah. Appreciate being on the podcast, and we're excited to be the best support we can here in Oceanside. So thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Advancing Oceanside podcast, brought to you by the Oceanside Chamber of Commerce. Continue with us on our journey to help inform, better educate, and ultimately advocate for Oceanside. You can view all of our other podcasts on any podcast listening locations, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or visit our YouTube channel. And don't forget to subscribe to catch all the latest updates on all things Oceanside. Join us next week as we host another influential leader from our community.